Thokozani, 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 who's here? Thokozani, Thokozani, please notify me if you can hear me by tapping. Show me something, a like, a love. Ah, there we go. You guys can hear me. Ninja, nithokoza. Ngubani ngununu, is it Biela? Biela? Bullet the ambassador, Magadiko. Turi, poor Magadi. Bonita, Thokoza. Club, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate you. Asa, Thokoza, Thokoza Ninjani. Good to see you guys. Thokozan. Thokozani. Wow, the number's going up really fast. So let's give it a little while before I start talking, and then we'll start. Today I'm on time. Isn't that great? Yeah, Nhlanhla, Thokoza, Ninjani. It's good to see you guys. So, so hi, Nhlanhla, what are you doing? You can't promote your stuff here. You're silly. Do you know I block people for lesser things than that? Don't do it. At least not without asking permission. Siva, Octavia, my AC, can you please not promote your stuff? Otherwise, I'm going to block you. I think you're probably new around here. That is not how we roll here. This is not a page that you can use to promote stuff, especially without asking permission. Don't do it. It's rude. So I would delete your comments because you are entering into a space that is not yours. And I have very hard boundaries about certain things. So delete your comments, please, and let's keep it moving. If I see another comment like that from you, I'm blocking you. Okay? Don't do it. 111 people. That is a great number, angelic number. We are going to start. Thokozani, Kamagwini, Lesedi, Khanya, Kwaziwai, Jambo, Muribwanji, Kedu, Kilode, Nangadef. I think I have greeted in as many languages as I can greet in. Ninjani. I'm glad to be here because yesterday was it yesterday or the day before? I think I posted something, and the question was, in this season of Heru, Robert, how are you? Zanele, Kamela, Mkhulu Jehuti, Ncese Kehla. I saw your message. Thank you for being here. So, I put something up, and I said it was really addressed to women, but I'm going to make this a little broader because all these things apply. You know, why do they apply? Because we are both divine masculine, divine feminine, right? So some will apply, some won't. But I think there is plenty that is applicable to both men and women, because really the idea of self-love is a universal thing, right? So the question was, do you love being a woman? And I got a lot of yes, 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 I love being a woman. Yes, yes, yes. And somebody wrote something that I thought was, not that I'm saying you guys don't love yourself, but I felt as though she had reflected on the question just a little bit deeper, because she wrote, sometimes I do, and then she said, but it's a little complicated. And that's the truth. This whole self-love thing, particularly for women, is really, really complicated. And I think the complication, if you like, may stem from even the very definition of self-love, right? Someone might say, I love myself. And it means something totally different to someone else. So I wanted for us to look at self-love from a spiritual perspective, right? Because that is universal. This page is a spiritual page. So if I talk about self-love from a spiritual perspective, I think then it's easier for you to gauge where you are in this whole self-love thing, right? And why did I want to talk about self-love, particularly for women? Because you can't give what you don't have, right? So if you have no love for self, how are you able to properly love someone else, right? How are you able to even receive love from someone else if you don't have love for yourself? Because when your idea of self-love is distorted or is not grounded in spirituality, sometimes you'll accept abuse as love because you don't have that grounding in spirituality. Does that make sense? So, love is a very difficult thing to define, right? Because love is what? Love is action. Matter of fact, in spirituality general, you know that somebody is a certain way by their actions, because the actions are the fruit of who they really are. The actions are the fruit of the character, right? So if the actions of somebody don't match up with somebody who loves themselves, or if the actions of somebody don't match up with the actions that a spiritual person is supposed to display, whenever there's that discrepancy, then there's a question mark, right? So, what from a spiritual perspective is self-love? From a spiritual perspective, this is my definition, by the way, guys. It's not a definition I pulled from somewhere or heard from someone. This is based on me. Remember, a lot of my teaching may be from knowledge, but I also bring to bear my own personal experience. I think at the age I've reached, I have acquired or accumulated enough experience, through mistakes, through getting it right sometimes, through finding out what works, what doesn't work. I think I've accumulated enough experience to be able to kind of share on some things from that perspective. So, for example, for me, from a spiritual perspective, what I've found to be deep self-love or authentic self-love is allowing my soul free expression, right? Honoring my higher self, honoring my soul. What does that look like in terms of your actions on the outside? Angithi, we said that we know whether you love yourself or not through certain actions. Number one is really putting yourself first. For mothers, and that's why I was talking to women about self-love, because for mothers, this is one that really messes us up. The idea of putting yourself first. That doesn't mean that you're going to neglect your family, your children, your husband, your partner, or other family members. Honoring and putting yourself first means not doing things to your detriment for the benefit of others. Let me give an example. I had a good example early on, I think it was early on this week, where I consulted Ugogo, and she in the end was in tears because I put this to her. Ugogo has taken care of her family for years. Ugogo has worked hard, had a decent paying job, and has taken care of, I think, her more than 6 siblings and their children over time. But there came a point now, and she gave and gave. Now, there came a point where it became difficult for her to do that, to continue giving. And I'm talking about on a material level and just being there, sort of emotionally, physically for the family. It became hard for her. The money wasn't coming in. Her responsibilities also grew. But guess what? No one in the family came to her aid. No one in the family came to help her. Now, we're talking about somebody who hardly had any savings because she was helping everyone else. When time came where she needed help, no one showed up. Even when she asked for help, no one showed up. Worse still, they got upset with her. They got upset with her that she couldn't help them anymore. It was painful to hear her talk about this experience. And even now, despite them knowing that she's struggling, to have them say things to manipulate her like, oh, December's coming, and, Christmas presents, like people in the family, I'm talking siblings here, throwing hints that they expected her to get them gifts around Christmas, which, me and Christmas, but that's another story for another day. My thing with Ugogo was that she had not loved herself enough. Ugogo had helped everybody else, but to her own detriment because Ugogo had no savings. One of the things I always say, and business people know this a lot, even when you run your own business, is when money comes in, pay yourself first. Whatever that looks like, it could be $100 out of $1,500, but pay yourself first, and then go ahead and pay your bills, and then save. Paying yourself first is not your savings. It's funds that are there for you to take care of you. Whether that be you need your hair done, whether it be you need your nails done, whether it be whatever, whether it be you want to save for something special for you. Pay yourself first. Pay your bills. And then if there's any extra, save some. And then if you are able, then I always say to people, give rather than lend, because the lending of money, that's a topic we need to talk about one day, is spiritual principles around borrowing and lending, because they're there. What am I saying? What I'm saying to Ugogo is not that she be selfish, which is what she's now being called by the family, but it's called taking care of yourself first. Because remember, we talk about grown adults who have their own lives. And I told her that actually you have done these people a disservice by always helping when they call, because you have enabled them. You have turned grown people into dependents. Because in their own homes, they're eating. In their own homes, they're dressing. But they now know that if they shout, whether they need help or not, you will respond. Meanwhile, in your own house, you are not eating well. You are stressed out financially because now you're worried about bills you haven't paid because you gave so-and-so a certain amount of money. I said, that's not self-love. That is actually a typical example of not loving yourself, because you're not honoring yourself. You're not honoring your own needs. If you don't take care of you first, What is the quality of care that you're going to give someone else if you yourself are not okay? If you don't put your needs, I'm not talking even your wants, let's keep the wants, but your needs, your basic needs. If you don't put your basic needs first, what quality of life are you going to have that will enable you to put someone else's needs or to take care of someone else's needs? So this goes back to even the way we are with our children. Many of us have this pattern from our mothers and our grandmothers who we saw literally work themselves to the bone and sacrifice themselves for their children. I have that, my own mother. My mom was widowed when I was very young, and I was 12. In all those years, my mother didn't buy herself a single new dress until I was older and I was working and was able to gift her some clothes. We're talking over a span of over 2 decades, because I was around 22 then. I, in part, inherited a little bit of that, to the extent that when my children were younger, I wouldn't eat until my children had eaten, because this was what I'd seen my mother do. And she had seen her mother do that. She had seen her mother sacrifice herself for her and her siblings. Am I grateful? Deeply so. But my mother did it out of necessity, and my grandmother out of necessity. It's not necessary for me to do it that way. But this was now a pattern that I had seen, and I equated self-sacrifice to that extent with motherhood. As women, many of us who love our children, and my thing has always been this, and I say this even now, they did not ask to be born, therefore. The truth is they did. They chose me. So it's a two-way street. Would I allow them to suffer? No. But there comes a point where you have to really sit with yourself and get some balance in how you're taking care of other people, including your children, versus how you're taking care of you. This is very important. Why? Because you are a spirit having a human experience. Part of that human experience, only a part, is being a mother or a wife or a sister or a cousin or an aunt or a granddaughter or a niece. Those are only parts of what your soul's mission is. When you don't give your soul full expression, it means there is a part of your mission that you're not fulfilling because you're too busy investing everywhere else, but not investing in yourself. So you say to yourself, okay, so how do we deal with this then? You know, like I'm a single mom, you know, I have kids to take care. How do I deal with it? It starts with simple things. How many of you spend 15 minutes a day, say before you go to sleep or early in the morning? I would recommend early in the morning because before you go to sleep, most of you are exhausted. If you're a mom or a caregiver, you know. By the time you get home from work, cook, feed everybody, make sure people's uniforms are ready for school the next day. You're exhausted. So my humble recommendation is 15 minutes, even wake up 15 minutes earlier. Make yourself a cup of coffee or cup of tea. Go find somewhere to sit. If you have your own room and that's the only place where you can be alone, well, usually if people are asleep, maybe sit at the kitchen table, whatever it is. Light a candle even. You're not going to talk to anyone but yourself. Don't turn this into a prayer session, I beg. This is about you and you. Spend 15 minutes in jail sitting. If you like, get a pen and paper, any pen and paper, and just write out the things that are occurring to you as you're sitting there. You know? How many of you have taken your dreams, your passions, and you've laid them aside? You've sacrificed your dream or your passion or a talent. You've set it aside for everyone else because there are so many responsibilities you have to take care of. You're not giving your soul full expression. You're not honoring your higher self. You're not loving yourself. Some of you feel like, okay, I have this business idea. Really, yes, I'm a police officer, but my passion, the thing that I love, the police officer is what you do. When you honor yourself, you're talking about who you are. You're not a police officer. That's your profession. You're not a teacher or a nurse. Those are your professions. Because deep down, there may be something else that is really, really who you are. How do we know whether you're a nurse? Your actions, right? If you're born to be a nurse and that's who you really are, we see it with your actions because you are a nurse. When you take your uniform off, even when you come home, you are checking wherever you are, you go visit relatives in the village or wherever. You are a nurse. It's who you are. You're there to help people, to care for people, make sure people's physical health, mental health, whatever, everybody's okay. You're a nurse. However, if you go to work and you're putting on your uniform, and even as you're putting on your uniform, you're like, man, and you're on the bus or on the combi or in your car and you're in a bad mood. By the time you get there, you are the first patient who you see, you're speaking to them brusquely. You're not a nurse. It's what you're doing, but it's not who you are. You're not honoring your higher self. Does that make sense? And this applies to men and women too. For a lot of people, the job is the job, but there's still that soul that wants full expression. There is still that spirit that needs to fulfill its purpose on this planet. And the only way you're ever going to find out what that is, who that dwells in this physical body, is literally by putting aside time to connect with self. Does that make sense? Other things you can do, look, sometimes as a mom, time is an issue, please, but prioritize this 15 minutes. It'll make a difference in your life. It really will make a difference in your life. Other things you can do, I hate housework, I hate chores, I hate cleaning, okay? I hate washing dishes. I hate anything domestic except cooking. I will cook. I will cook every day 24/7. But cleaning and ironing, all that, you know what? Make it fun for yourself then. Be that the time you're playing your favorite music if you like to dance. And dance while you're cleaning. Because that way, uphilisa umoya wako. You're giving your soul expression. Because not you, the physical, right? Yes, you like the physical, but it's your soul. How many people can say, I cannot live without music? I'm one of them. How many here say, I can dance? I need to dance. Like if I hear a song, then dance. Because there's that spirit in you that thrives and is happy when it finds expression in dance. Uses your physical body, obviously. And you find that you're on a high just because you played your favorite music. So it can lift you out of a bad mood. It can take you somewhere from the chore you're doing. Have you ever played music when you're doing something you can't stand or so boring that you literally, it's like you travel out of your body and you see yourself in different scenarios? That's your soul finding full expression. And when you do that, your mind gets creative. That's why you start imagining different scenarios. Some of you, deep down inside, when you're dancing, you see yourself on stage. You're Makazi. You're Makazi on the stage doing the crazy footwork and throwing yourself on the floor. That's your soul finding expression that lifts your vibrational frequency. Right? Happiness is free. Let me tell you. Just doing things like that sounds silly. I do it a lot. I dance by myself a lot. Some of you have even seen it. When I feel like it and I need an audience, I'll press the TikTok and I'll dance on TikTok and post it. Right? That's my soul finding free expression. I'm not repressing her. I'm not telling her, hi, you're 51 years old, stop it. Obviously, whatever it is I'm doing has to be age appropriate. I'm not going to do crazy things that 16-year-olds are doing, like shaking my rump everywhere. That's just not appropriate for someone my age. But I dance, right? Find those things. How many of you really know that, I used to love reading and there's certain genre that I used to enjoy? Pick it up again. Take 15 minutes a day to read. Don't say I don't have time to read. Aibo. Your soul wants to read. Read. You will find that when you do these little things for yourself, it becomes easier for you to give off yourself to other people because you've taken care of you first. You've honored your higher self. Now, associated with that comes boundaries. Many of us don't really even know the definition of boundaries because we didn't grow up in homes where we saw women set boundaries and enforce them. We didn't grow up in homes where we saw women set boundaries and enforce them, and if they weren't respected, there were consequences. Boundaries are very important. Boundaries are there to protect your soul. Boundaries are there to protect your higher self so that you continue to prioritize your higher self. Boundaries are there to teach people how to treat you. Because people treat you the way you teach them to treat you. What do I mean? By the things you allow. Right? If you're with a partner who's verbally abusive and you take it, well, you've just taught that person that it's okay to treat you like that. If you're with a partner who's financially abusive, emotionally abusive, well, you accept it once. I always say, you accept it once, you're in trouble. I always say, start as you mean to go along. So your boundaries, when you set them in a scenario like that, is simply saying, listen, we need to talk. because I don't appreciate this way of treating me or that way or the silent treatment or whatever it is. You do it in a sober moment when you're calm and say, look, this I'm not going to put up with. But you can only know what you can put up with, what you will put up with and what you won't if you're spending time checking in with yourself. So that when these things happen, you can instantly know that somebody's crossed a boundary and we need to deal with it. It's important. It's important. And if the person continues to cross those boundaries despite you saying, look, I don't appreciate this look, then maybe this is not the person you're supposed to be with. Because clearly, if they don't respect your boundaries, they don't respect you. And when I say you, it's not just the physical you, but I'm talking about umoya wako, your higher self. So if that person doesn't change, how do you know somebody has heard you? How do you know somebody honors your boundaries, your requests? You see changes in the behavior. Everything is about behavior. Words, look, talk is cheap, okay? Talk is cheap, even to yourself. If you continue talking the good talk to yourself, but nothing is changing in your actions, if you say, I am learning certain things, but we see no progression, no transformation in your life, talk is cheap. So that's the same with the people around you. Once you've expressed yourself to say, look, I'll tolerate this, I'm not taking this, and there's no change. There's no effort to change, because sometimes change is hard. I mean, you know, we're human beings, and the older we get, the harder it is to change. If there is no effort to change, this isn't the person you're supposed to be with. Because the longer you stay and that behavior continues, it becomes entrenched. It literally becomes the pattern. It literally becomes the way of treating you. Don't do that to yourself. Love yourself enough to say, you know what? I'm cutting my losses. I'm out. That's a decision you can make. And a lot of women know this. Many women check out of relationships long before they make the physical move, but make that decision to say, no, this, And your soul and umoya will make a way for you to exit. The time will come when you can exit. But you've honored yourself. You can look at yourself in the mirror without shame. Because one of the things is, why do you think that a lot of people feel shame when they are abused? Because really, if you think about it logically, the person who's supposed to feel shame is the abuser. But you feel the shame. You know why? You feel shame because you haven't honored your higher self. Deep in your subconscious is that knowledge that what you're doing to your higher self, what you're doing to your soul is not good. So you feel shame. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to share it. You don't want to tell anyone. And the sad thing about those things is you don't want to tell anyone because you feel a sense of shame. So you're giving the perpetrator a nice cover to continue. Honor yourself. Honor your higher self. Love yourself. Ne? I don't know what this circle is. What is happening here? This is so funny. Do you guys see it? Or is it just me? Anyway, I have no idea what's going on here. Oh, what just happened? Guys, I think it's the filter. Yeah. Yep. I think it was the filter. But anyway, this is really important, guys. This is really important. I want you to sit with this. And I want you to Start that 15 minutes a day. It's important. You weren't born to be anybody's slave, not even your children's. You were born with a purpose. You were born with a purpose. Find that purpose. Connect with that purpose. Connect with that higher self. Connect with your soul. Find out what she came here for. Find out what he came here for. And then create time to follow that and to do that. It's important. The other thing is self-respect, right? Self-respect. These things are all interconnected. But what do I mean exactly by self-respect? If you really love yourself, you know that there's certain ways of being and doing that don't honor your higher self. I'm going to give an example. You have a partner, and your partner has a baby mama who you can't stand, and because you can't stand her, you are mean to the child who, let's say, happens to live with you. That, Ndlovukazi, is horrible. You don't love yourself. You don't respect yourself if you can allow your shadow self, your dislike for this child's mother, to bleed onto this innocent child. Now, I know some of you, I don't know why I'm pulling this, but I hear someone saying, yeah, but that child has no respect either, blah, blah, blah. Well, if that child has a terrible mother, then chances are if he's spending or she's spending any time with that mother, when you have to spend time with them, that is going to show. Children learn by what they see. And first teacher is mother, usually. First teacher is mother. But the question I put to you and the challenge I put to you is, are you respecting yourself when you are mean or horrible to an innocent child? No matter what behaviors that child exhibits, that child is innocent. It's a victim of circumstance. It's not his fault that his parents couldn't get it together, right? It's not her fault that the parents couldn't get it together. That child is a victim of circumstance who's having to deal sometimes with things you don't even know because you're so caught up in disliking the mother that you haven't even checked in with that child to figure out what's going on. Why did I bring that up? Because many Ndlovukazi are finding themselves in that exact situation. There's no way majority of us aren't finding ourselves there because it is the nature of what the Black family has become. It's fragmented. So if you are honoring your higher self and you love yourself, then you will hold yourself accountable. That is what I'm getting at. Are you holding yourself accountable for your behaviors, for your misdeeds, for your mistakes? Are you apologizing when you need to? Are you making amends when you need to? Are you humbling yourself when you know that you're in the wrong and you need to? Or are you getting arrogant and getting huffy and saying, Mina, Meanwhile, you know perfectly well you are the one who's in the wrong. If you love yourself, you will hold yourself accountable. Ma'at. The laws of Ma'at. 42 of them. I hope you have them. You can spend some of your 15 minutes daily looking at those laws because they're about you and holding yourself accountable. Right? Accountability is very important, particularly because we are a fragmented community where there is so much strife, men against women, women against men. But as a Ndlovukazi or as a man, have you sat with yourself down and been objective with your soul and allowed your soul, because your soul will always tell you the truth, and sat to say, yabona la, this is on me, I messed up? Or are you going to sit there and project outwards and continue to blame everyone else around you? When relationships break down, there are two people involved. Have you held yourself accountable to your part in the breakdown? And you'll say, no, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. It was she, it was she, it was he, it was he. Ah, bo. There is some part of you that contributed to whatever mess got created. So, self-respect, holding yourself accountable. Right? So let's talk about this house. This is your temple, right? You've got this temple in which your spirit resides, right? This temple is actually your soul projected outwards. So when you are moving around in the world, this is the representation of your soul. Now the question is it a true representation of your soul? How do you eat? Do you at least try to eat healthy? Do you at least try to incorporate fruits, veg? Guys, you know what's good for you. Your soul tells you what's good for you. And when you live consciously, you really don't need anybody coming on a live to tell you how you should eat. Your soul tells you what's good for you and what's not good for you. And sometimes what's good for one person isn't good for another. I have this a lot with spiritual kids who are like, Gogo, should I be eating fish? Should I be eating pork? Should I be eating what? And I'm like, don't worry, your people will tell you soon enough what they want from you and what they don't. Your soul is the same. How do you feel after eating a certain thing? Is this thing that you're eating making you put on weight that is so uncomfortable, that your feet are swollen, that you can't breathe, that you walk half a kilometer and you're huffing and puffing, your back hurts now, you can't sleep at night, you have sleep apnea? Do you guys know what sleep apnea is? Is when you sleep and you go meaning that you have seconds in your sleep pattern where you're not breathing. Do you know what that does to your brain? It does. Those seconds where you're not breathing, your brain is not getting sufficient oxygen. Do you know what happens to your neurons or your brain cells when you don't get sufficient oxygen? They die. So, how you eat, how you take care of yourself. Self-care goes hand in hand with self-love. And it doesn't have to be anything that is going to cost you an arm and a leg. You know? Spare yourself a moment. I don't know, you like getting your hair done. Go and get your hair done. While you're there, tell the woman who's doing your hair, please can you massage my scalp? That feels really good. Self-care. you know. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. But what you're doing when you self-care is you are showing gratitude to this body that houses your soul. Sometimes it takes taking just a what do you call this a bucket, not even a bucket, a dish, right? After work, put some rough salt in there, warm water, put your feet in there. Especially if you have the kind of job where you're standing for a long time. Soak your feet for 10 minutes and you can feel your body thanking you when you do things like that, right? Simple things like, you know what? I'm not going to bed at midnight today because that can wait until tomorrow. I need this sleep. I'm going to sleep. And you take yourself off to bed. That is you taking care of self, right? Learning to say no is a form of self-care and self-love. No is a complete sentence, guys. Can I have 50 rand? No. Can I have 50 cents? No. It's a complete sentence that doesn't need any justification. The problem we have is you get yourself into a mess because because you want to explain to somebody you've said no to why you've said no. And no is a no. They don't even need to know the reason. Because they're asking you for what's rightfully yours. You are allowed to say no. You're allowed to say no. And sometimes it is necessary to say no. I'm coming over to your house today. This is a friend of yours who just like, no. If you feel like explaining, fine, but teach yourself to say no. You know, people who are so accustomed to you saying yes all the time, the day you say no, and you put a period after it, no, full stop, these people are going to go into a tailspin. They're going to go crazy because they're not accustomed to you like that. Press the reset button on such people by saying no. Meaning, we're starting over now. It's a new day. This is the new me. You teach people how to treat you. Always. So, on that note, I think for today, we have a lot on self-love that, you know, you can really reflect on with a cup of tea at 15 minutes in the morning at 6:30, whenever it is you wake up 5. Just wake up 15 minutes earlier, you know. Just make a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, something. If nothing, just sit, light a candle and sit with yourself, you know. So I hope this was useful. I don't know when I'll be back again. Guys, I didn't come for the full moon in Heru ritual because I was sent on a spiritual assignment, which I will post about when I have an opportunity or when I'm allowed to. But like, I couldn't. So we'll see. It was something else. It was sure. But okay. Again, I really hope you guys got something out of this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share to as many abantu bethu as possible if you think that this will benefit someone, especially in Ndlovukazi. Okay? Anyway, I love you guys so much. Take good care of yourselves and see you soon. Masithokozeni.